Welcome back to my channel. This is a special series on the outer planets, and today we're going to start with an introduction, and then I will do a series about each of the different outer planets that I'm going to talk about. This is a follow-up on a series that I did last summer, which had to do with the retrograde season for the outer planets, and so you might want to go and check that out at some point because it does relate to what we're doing now. It's not a repeat because this time I'm going to talk more about the significance of the outer planets and the gates and how it relates to astrology a little bit. So they're definitely different, but some of the information on that series is still relevant because the retrograde cycles are longer than a year. So you can go and check that out. All right, let's go ahead and dive into the outer planets. In this series of videos, we're going to step back just a little bit from the particulars to take a bigger look and a deeper dive into the one or usually two, sometimes more gates that the outer planets are moving through because they tend to go back and forth and back and forth. In Pluto's case, what we're going to look at in the video on Pluto is actually 6 years. And then in the case of Saturn, it's 10 months. So how long they spend in a gate has to do with how far they are from the sun. You can see the order of the planets in this visual, and so Pluto is all the way at the outer rim of our solar system. And so he spends the longest time in a gate. And then as you move inward, they spend less and less time in a gate, generally speaking. I'm actually not going to do a special video on Neptune this time because what I covered in the retrograde video from last time, which you can go and see here, is still relevant for now. He's still in the gate 36. He's going to be in the gate 36 for a while. He's been in the gate 36. So you can learn about Neptune in the 36 in that particular special video. We're going to talk about Pluto and Uranus and Saturn in this series. So let's just talk for a minute about astrology and why astrology sees the outer planets as generational influences. They stay much longer in an astrological sign than they do in a human design gate. So in the human design system, Pluto will be in the sign of Capricorn, for example, for about 18 years. Now, in astrology, at least according to the research that I have done, it's more like 15 years. So we don't have an exact parallel between astrology and human design. So we take each system to have their own integrity, look at each one of them, and don't try to necessarily, make them align all the time because they don't really. But that doesn't mean that one of them is inaccurate. They each have their own integrity. But just to get back to astrology, Pluto is going to be in Capricorn anywhere from 15 to 18 years, depending on how you count it. And if you think about 15 to 18 years, that is a whole generation, right? Will be influenced by Pluto in the sign of Capricorn. And so, which he's already moved out of in astrology and will be moving out of in 2025, and according to Human Design, maybe a little bit sooner, 2024. So that means that everyone that's born during the time that Pluto is in Capricorn is going to be influenced by that kind of Capricorn Plutonian energy. And so that's why the outer planets are so important in astrology. It's different in human design because you really only stay in a gate for a shorter period of time. So for example, each astrological sign relates to about 5 to 6 gates on the Human Design Mandala. Just take a look at this image of the mandala. You'll see around the very outsides of it are the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. And then inside of that, you will see the numbers of the gates, and there's these little hash marks on the top of them. That has to do with the lines of the hexagrams where the gate is. And this is kind of where we get the difference with astrology and with human design. And then you'll see inside of where those gates are, you'll see the astrological symbols. Okay. So we're going to zoom in here for a second to just look at Capricorn. So you can see where the Capricorn symbol is on the Human Design Mandala in this image. And you can see in this next image that Capricorn starts partway through when you're in gate 10, and then it ends partway through the gate 60. So as you're moving that way, again, we don't have an exact parallel. Okay. Now take a look at this image and you'll see that the arrows are pointing to where the planets are in the gate. And in this particular one, you can see Pluto there up at the top on the left is in the gate 61, and he's there twice. And then also you can just see all the other planetary symbols that are inside of this example of the mandala. So let's focus in on Pluto and Capricorn. And that Pluto, like I said, is the outermost planet. And in regular astronomy, I guess, he's been demoted to a dwarf planet, unfortunately. But we don't think of him as any less significant in human design or in astrology, I think. Okay. And if you want to find out more about Pluto, like I said, I'm going to do a whole video on Pluto. And I also have a teaching that I did on Pluto earlier in the year. And you can go and check that out here if you want to get a little bit more information about that. So in this example, Pluto entered gate 10 in 2007. Capricorn begins a little bit late, a little ways into the gate 10. Okay, so it's not exactly the beginning, but then he exits the gate 60 in January of 2025. But you can see Capricorn ends a little bit before that, right? But during that 18-year time, he's going in and out and in and out of all these different gates. So we're going to focus now that Pluto has been going in and out of the gate 60 and the gate 61. And you can see the dates here of when he was doing that. So he entered the gate 61 in January of 2019, enters the gate 60 in January of 2022, and then exits the gate 60 in January of 2025. So there's a 6-year cycle that he's just in these 2 gates. So as we go through these different outer planets, we're going to zero in on where they are now and what have they been going in and out of, what's kind of the cycle, the bigger cycle that they're in. And we're going to zoom in and get a lot more specific about that. So you can see here in human design, timeframes are much shorter than they are in astrology because we've got 5 to 6 gates per astrological sign, like I said earlier. And for here, Pluto's just staying in a gate for 2 to 3 years and sometimes retrograding out of it and then going back into it. So it's nowhere near as generational as it is in astrology. But one thing I did find very interesting is during these recent years, and this will affect us, not exactly generationally, but it's giving us a big period of time to be looking at, is the emphasis on the knowing circuit. Because Pluto and Uranus in particular are lighting up different gates of the knowing circuit quite a bit. In this case, Pluto is lighting up 2 gates of the knowing circuit, like the 60 and the 61, okay, which is highly mutative energy, highly intuitive. And that's going on for almost 6 years. But then we've got Uranus, who's going in and out of the gate 23 and 2, also in the knowing circuit, but was in the 2 before that and is going to enter the 8 and then the 20. All of those are in the knowing circuit. So we have got a really big emphasis between these 2 major players of Pluto and Uranus in the knowing circuit. So we'll dive into the specifics of that in those particular videos, and you can look forward to that. But let me just say here that the emphasis on the knowing circuit, right? This is where the evolutionary impulse of humanity runs through the human design chart. And we've got, Pluto, who's the god of the underworld, his phoenix energy is like, get what I'm pointing you to, or I'm going to tear it down, burn it up, and you're going to have to rebuild it. And we definitely are having that kind of Plutonian energy happening in our world right now, right? Things are crumbling, things are burning up, things are falling apart. Other things are emerging, other things are getting built, other things are starting to come into form. And so we'll dive into the specifics of that in the Plutonian video. But then we've got Uranus, who's like the god of sudden change and transformation and awakening, right? And he's in this knowing circuit for a really long time. And so he's constantly kind of saying to us, when are you going to wake up to your intuition? Right? When are you going to wake up to that? What has to happen and change in your life that you will actually receive the blessing of your intuition? I can't wait to dive into these. It's going to be so exciting. And then we've got Saturn. And Saturn, you can see moves in and out of the gates much more quickly. So during the time that we're going to be looking at this, Saturn is, going into the 30 and then into the 49, the 13, and then coming back out of the 49, the 30, and the 55. So it's only a 10-month cycle because Saturn, remember, is so much closer to the sun than Uranus or Pluto are, way, way, way far out. So Saturn's cycle is much shorter. And he's not in the knowing circuit, but it is not in any logic circuit, which is very interesting. We don't have any logic highlighted at all for quite a while in the outer planets. It's very interesting. So we've got all of our other intelligences being lit up by the outer planets, including Neptune in that gate 36, which is in the sensing circuit, and that's creative right-brained energy. All right. Well, I am definitely looking forward to sharing this with you and diving in, and I know I'm going to learn a lot, and I hope that you will too. And I'll tell you, if this content intrigues you, I am going to be doing a program that starts in the summer and it's going to go through the fall, and it's called Embody Your Human Design with Intuition and Creativity. And the emphasis of it is going to be on us really getting in touch with that knowing circuit and that sensing circuit, because they are vital intelligences for us that tend to be either rejected or suppressed or doubted because of our left brain dominance. And I am super excited about doing this with you. And I'm going to invite you to go and check out. I have a page. It's a page where you get to kind of see what it's about. There's nothing to buy. You do put in your name and your email so that you can go on a special advanced notice list when I do start doing the events that are going to be leading up to doing this program. And I would personally love to know if you're interested, because that also helps me be able to gauge, who's there, and I can communicate with you and actually even survey you and talk to you about what you'd like to see in the program. So if that intrigues you and you want to activate your intuition and your creativity using your human design, then I invite you to join me. All right. Many blessings. Much love. Bye for now.